Good day, everyone, especially to you, Dr. Kiber. My name is Jeah Rojo, and for this one, we're going to talk about the Philippine Constitution and also its impact on tourism. And before anything else, I will be providing to you the topic outline and the objectives. So for the topic outline is we do have the introduction, the case of the Killjoy Administrator, the Philippine Constitution Foundation and Law, key constitutional provisions related to tourism, the Bill of Rights legal explanation, the law in action case studies, labor and freedom of expression in tourism, national economy and patrimony, application of the law in real-life cases, and public utility laws and franchise requirements. And also, here are the objectives. So, first is to explain the rights of the individuals in the context of the Philippine Constitution, particularly relating to tourism, educational activities, and the responsibilities of school administrators and teachers. Second is to explore the legal implications of privacy, freedom of speech, and labor disputes within the tourism sector using real-world cases as examples. Next is to discuss the legal boundaries of freedom of speech and privacy in the tourism industry. Also, to provide an understanding of how constitutional provisions such as the Bill of Rights and laws like the anti-wiretapping law impact various sectors including tourism and education. Next is explore how laws related to personal freedoms such as the right to travel and union formation affect tourism businesses and employees. Lastly, to examine the legal relationship between individual rights and state authority, especially in regulating contracts, labor, and business partners. So that would be the topic outlines and the objectives for this lesson. So without further ado, let's continue our report and dig deeper with the Philippine Constitution. So the presentation begins with a quote from Dr. Amparo Santos, emphasizing the enriching experience of travel. It sets the stage for the discussion on the role of travel and education, using the case of Professor Myra Villamin's planned tour to Boracay as a foundation. So for this one, we're going to talk about a case study for the case of the Killjoy Administrator. So just a short background for the case of the Killjoy Administrator. Professor Villamin followed school policies meticulously when planning the tour, ensuring transparency, proper documentation, and safety protocols were in place. Despite all of this, Dr. Gaspar, due to her personal experience with a tragic incident during a previous tour, refused the proposal. So here are the key questions to consider. What are Prof. Villamin's options? Second, does Dr. Gaspar have the authority to block the tour? Third, what measures can prevent past accidents from happening again? So this case highlights the conflict between Professor Villamin, who follows all protocols for organizing an educational tour, and Dr. Gaspar, who refuses permission due to a past tragic incident. So for this one, we are prompted to think about the legal and ethical issues involved, such as whether the administrator has the right to block the activity and what measures could prevent future accidents. So first, we're going to tackle the teacher and the administrator responsibilities. So the legal and ethical duties of teachers in organizing educational tours. So teachers have a duty to ensure that all aspects of an educational tour are well planned and thus comply with legal and safety standards. So they are responsible for student safety and well-being during off-campus activities. And also, administrators are responsible for approving activities, ensuring that proper safety measures are in place, and intervening when necessary to prevent potential risks. So that is the duty also and the responsibility of a school administrator to ensure safety. So, a reflection on how accidents outside of school premises should be handled. So for that, schools must be proactive in preventing accidents by ensuring that all safety measures are followed. So in the case of accidents, the school must investigate and address issue while also providing support to the affected parties. So for that, we're going to connect it with the understanding, or we're going to connect the case study with the Philippine Constitution by understanding the Philippine Constitution. So the Philippine Constitution is the supreme law of the land, establishing the framework for the country's government, defining the powers of its branches, and protecting the rights of its citizens. So the Constitution is described as the supreme law of the land, creating a framework for governance. So this discussion moves on to the provisions most relevant to tourism, including the Bill of Rights and national economy and patrimony. Also, the role in defining fundamental laws and powers of government. It sets out the fundamental principles of governance and establishes the rule of law. It ensures that all other laws and government actions conform to these fundamental principles. And the Constitution provides protection and guidelines related to rights that affect various sectors, including tourism and educational activities. The application of these rights in tourism ensures a balance between freedom and safety for individuals participating in the event or in the tour. So, constitutional provisions related to tourism. So, Articles 3, Bill of Rights, and the Article 12, National Economy and Patrimony. These articles are critical for tourism, particularly in safeguarding individual rights and ensuring that the tourism industry operates in a way that benefits the public without infringing on citizens' rights. And also under this is focus on rights to life, liberty, property, and equal protection. And these constitutional rights ensure that citizens have access to travel and educational experiences, and they require that the tourism industry respects these fundamental rights. So, key sections of the Bill of Rights are explained, particularly to the right of life, liberty, property, and equal protection. So, these rights are very crucial for ensuring fair treatment and the protection of individuals involved in the tourism activities. So, the Bill of Rights. So, under the Section 1, the right to life, liberty, and property. So, this section protects individuals from arbitrary actions that may deprive them of their basic rights. So, for this one, the Bill of Rights focuses on the rights of the life, the liberty, and property. Like the specific right of a certain person that helps and protects from deprivation from the basic rights to live the life with liberty and freedom, with of course within the law. So for that, the definition and interpretation of the due process and equal protection of the law. So the due process, this refers to the right to a fair procedure, such as being informed of and having the opportunity to contest decisions made about one's life, liberty, or property. Whereas the equal protection of the law, which all people, regardless of the background, should be treated equally under the law. No favoritism should be shown in matters such as the right to travel or participate in educational activities. So, it also has impacts on personal freedoms in the context of travel and tourism. So these provisions ensure that all Filipinos have the right to travel and engage in tourism activities provided by following the law. So it also protects the safety of the citizens while traveling. So basically, the Bill of Rights is all about fair treatment under the law. So next, we will be providing an example or an application of the Bill of Rights. So here's like a quick case study for Congressman Genuino and the issue of extradition. So Congressman Genuino's extradition case involves the legal procedures related to his due process rights. Although he demanded his extradition papers early, the law does not require the Philippine government to provide those until a formal petition is filed. So here's the discussion on whether his rights were violated. So, Congressman Genuino's rights were not violated at all. So, as the process followed the legal framework established by the RPUS extradition treaty, because we're following the laws, and for that, it is said that the government can provide those informations or papers until a formal petition is filed. So we'll need to wait like a signal or a formal petition from the government so that it will be provided to Congressman Genuino. So for that, the importance of the due process in legal matters related to tourism is just as in Genuino's case, legal rights related to tourism such as personal safety or due compensation for tourism-related incidents must follow due process. So individuals and authorities must ensure fairness and transparency. So for that, all should be fair, and we really need to wait with the due process, with the proper process, with the government's guidance for us to be able to provide the suggested or to provide the paper that is being asked, because this is a very important letter, so or paper, it must be gone through a due process or a legal process. And also, this section provides a real-life application of constitutional law focusing on the case of Congressman Genuino, and it explores the concept of due process in legal proceedings, showing how it relates to the legal rights of individuals within the context of the law. Privacy and communication laws in tourism. Under the Section 3, inviolability of communication privacy, the impact of the anti-wiretapping law on the tourism industry, and the legal implications for hotel management and government operations. So, for privacy and communication laws, the legal implications of privacy, particularly in the tourism sector, are being examined. So, this includes discussing the anti-wiretapping law and its effects on hotel management and government operations when dealing with criminal activities. So, we cannot plant a wiretapping, or we cannot plant a recorder or do wiretapping in a specific establishment, even if it means that it's with the help, or it can help to provide evidences, since it is part of the law that under the anti-wiretapping law. So next is labor and freedom of expression. Under the Section 4, the right to freedom of speech and expression, obscenity in tourism and understanding legal boundaries, and how this affects representation and media in the tourism industry. So under the labor and freedom of expression in tourism, this part touches on the importance of protecting free speech while considering the need to regulate obscenity in media and representation, ensuring that the tourism industry adheres to the ethical standards. So for that, we have the freedom of speech to say what we want, but we need to adhere to the ethical standards, especially according to the law. So next is the police power and public morals, or the Manila Councilor's intervention. So here's what happened. The Manila Councilor intervenes to stop a bikini pictorial at Fort Santiago. So the law applied in this is that the state's police power to regulate actions that affect public morals. So the outcome of this is the councilor's intervention is valid if the pictorial violates public moral standards. So I will be providing to you, explaining to you concisely the situation. So police power allows the state to impose restrictions to protect public morals, health, and safety, demonstrating how government authority can regulate business practices in the public interest. So next, constitutional right to travel. So Section 6 of the Philippine Constitution, which guarantees the right to travel and relocate, subject to legal restrictions. So for this one, there are rights that has been guaranteed under this constitutional right to travel, which is the freedom to travel within or outside the country, and also freedom to choose and change one's place of the residence. So if you can see, we can change addresses anytime that we want. It's because of the constitutional right to travel. So, but it has also limitations in which it can be restricted by a lawful court order in the interest of the public safety, national security, or public health. So for example, this is quick case study or short case study for Mr. Bondok's right to travel. So just a short background, Mr. Bondok, released on bail, requests to leave the country for business purposes while awaiting trial for estafa. So key questions. Can the court deny his request to travel? Second, does this violate his constitutional right to travel? So if we look or seek for legal opinion, the court may deny Mr. Bondok's request as a condition of his bail, which ensures his appearance at trial. So the court and the government has the right to deny or reject the request for Mr. Bondok to travel outside the country. It's because Mr. Bondok is still under bail, and also by denying the request, it ensures also his appearance on the trial because it's still ongoing. And for that, if we check that one also with a law, such or like the law reference, the court's ability to restrict travel as part of bail conditions. So the court really has the power and the ability to restrict or to reject his request to travel, especially outside the country, because the court is still ongoing or the trial is still ongoing. So the specific person cannot like freely access to travel anywhere he wants, since he is still under trial. So for the conclusion for this topic, the state's role in regulating businesses, protecting workers, prioritizing Filipino ownership, and ensuring that public interests are safeguarded is central to the legal framework. Understanding these laws helps businesses comply with regulations and make informed decisions in the tourism and hospitality sectors, which are essential for both economic growth and the protection of national interests. So the final part of the presentation reiterates that the need to balance legal rights with responsibilities in tourism education, urging the audience to prioritize safety, legal compliance, and ethical behavior in educational tours and activities. And that would be all for the report with regards to the Philippine Constitution. I hope you have learned something, and thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.